Anyway, we're going to go back to Strabane now, and as promised, we have an interview coming up with white male actors, and regular listeners to the Ferry Connection will be well familiar with the music of white male actors over the last few months. They've been recording away and rehearsing away, and they've also got a gig coming up in the next few weeks over the Christmas period as well, which they will tell you about during the interview. I actually caught up with Mark and Pete from the band last night. They were rehearsing in Dicey Riley's, so we got a wee bit of a chat, and it was a very, very informative chat indeed. So you'll be able to hear it coming up right now. But first, let's have some music from the band themselves. This is White Male Actors, and this is Winter Sun.
I had initially written a batch of songs, and I demoed them myself in the house, and then I'd stuck a link up on SoundCloud and let people on my Facebook friends list check it out, and they were free to give me any feedback they wanted, and it was all positive. So at that stage I decided I would put a band together, and of course initially the original plan was to have me and David in the band, the two of us, and then maybe source a variety of different musicians to pad out the band. But we realised that would be an absolute nightmare.
But even, I mean, you write the songs yourself, Mark, don't you? So would it be tough for yourself because you're sort of giving your music out to the other musicians?
It's been strange because at the minute, the way we had been working with the original batch of songs that we had, I've just been sending them out the demos or separate guitar parts to Pete and Davey and saying, well, learn these. And obviously it's not set in stone. We come down and they practice, and everybody brings their own musical personality to it, and it's far from a dictatorship. The boys will come up with ideas and say, why don't we try this, or well, how about this chord here or there, and that's great. I mean, it's a great help to me as well, because it takes a bit of pressure off, because it can be a bit much, being the sole writer. So I love having input from the rest of the fellas as well too. That's very helpful. And as I say, some of the ideas they come up with are better than any of the things that I've come up with. So it's great to have their input. Yeah. So nothing's set in stone when you bring a piece of music in. It's open for change. It is. The demos that I would send out to the boys would be fairly finished. I mean, I would send them full songs with parts that I have written or whatever. But as I say, they're more than happy to keep the parts at times, and other times then they're willing to chop and change wee bits or add their own bits, and that's great. But a bit of variety. I mean, there's no point having the band as such if not everyone can have their input. So that's why we have the band, so that everybody can bring their own bits and pieces. Otherwise, I'd be out doing a one-man show. Nobody wants that in their lives. No. But I mean, obviously, these are guys you've known a long time as well, so I'd say you're familiar with what they're capable of, and absolutely. I mean, myself and David. I mean, from 1999 onwards, we have never not been in a band together. I mean, the Avari that we were in, the band called the Avari. I mean, we were together for about 6 or 7 years writing original material. And of course with Pete here as well, Pete Devine, and you're on guitar as well on the band. And of course, Pete, you're part of Freaks as well. But obviously there's a different, what kind of different dynamic is there between Freaks and white male actors?
A small thing called organisation. That's how a foreign word to Freaks, as I'm sure you might know. No, it's a different beast, but it's the same fun. It's good to kind of take more of a backseat, and I think for the first few months I kind of felt like I was getting away with murder, because I wasn't the strictest person with my homework and learning the songs. So no, it's been great fun. Hey, I still feel dead lucky I was asked to be part of it, and onwards and upwards. It's I take directions from the captain there, Mark Donnelly. So,
are you sure it's not a dictatorship?
Well, I mean, I graduated in history in undergrad, and I mean, it's not quite a totalitarian, like the Nazis, but maybe a wee bit fascist, like Mussolini. No, I'm only joking.
But actually, the actual songwriting itself, I mean, where do you get your ideas from when you're actually writing the songs, Mark?
That's something that a lot of people ask me about, because being a drummer, a lot of the time people say to me, well, the drum parts in your own songs are so terrible. They're so basic. I'm surprised there's no drum fills like every 20 seconds. But All the bands that I grew up listening to, I mean, was all based on melody, like really, really strong melodies and pleasant on the ears, even if you could say that. It's just literally like most people, they sit down either with a guitar or footering about on a keyboard and coming up with wee melodies and chord progressions, and I would basically write all the music for the song from that point of view, and then I'll procrastinate for weeks writing lyrics because I hate doing it. But that's basically the way, there's no real magic, there's no magic there as far as I'm concerned, or no magic formula. It's just very simple. You sit down and you play something until you like the sound of it, and hopefully the people in the band share the same, opinion, and if they don't, then you make changes or whatever. But just a simple process like that. And we're blessed that we have our own wee recording setup, so it's very easy for us to, note down like any ideas we have. We just record them and send them out to the rest of the guys in the band, so for their approval. It's great, rather than having to visit everyone's house and say, well, here's this idea that I have, what do you think? It's great that we're able to just send wee snippets out and say, well, this is an idea we've come up with, do you like the way this is going, and take it from there. So that's great that we have the technology to help us do that.
Oh, indeed. This is when you think of the times we're in now, where a band is actually, even a local band in Strabane, they've done more recording than they have actual playing live.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's embarrassing, in fact, because all the bands we love, they're noted for their how amazing they are live, and sometimes the recording aspect can be secondary for them. But with us, we seem to we've got it all wrong. Completely wrong, but no, that's something we will be addressing. We're conscious of the fact that we haven't done too many gigs, and it's something we'll be putting right, certainly once the new year hits, and we have our EP, which we seem to have been working on for ages. Once it's finally ready to go, and it'll be a case of flat out then for the gigging circuit.
Is there a gig this Christmas coming up?
There is indeed. We're playing along with those Ghosts here in Dicey Riley's on the 28th of December. Brilliant. And that's going to be absolutely fantastic, because the guys have had a tremendous year as well too. So we're hoping that a lot of people come down and support the local acts, because there's been a culture, and I know myself and David have been very guilty of it, playing on the Pontius Pilates. There's been a real culture of cover versions, leading the way and leading the fore, and particularly around Strabane in the last while. And while that's great, as a form of entertainment, for us, very, very important, that you remain creative. And it's great that local people seem to share the same idea. They're happy to come and see a covers band, but at the same time, they're very, very supportive when local artists, write their own music. And for us, that's extremely important.
Oh, I would agree, definitely. I think this year especially has come to the forefront a great deal. I think a great focus on original material within solo artists and bands, and the platform, like we're standing here in Dicey Riley's now, actually, this has been a great platform for it as well. And you mentioned just the band. Personally, I think it's been a great 2013 for Strabane, and just with, as I say, with Pete here as well from Freaks, and there's been just so much this year. And just what's your own sort of summary of 2013 and Strabane?
Oh, it's been amazing. Without giving our age away, we remember a time in Strabane where there maybe would have been about 14 or 15 original bands, and every week in Dicey Riley's there was, 3 or 4 bands. You never would have had to worried about finding a support act in Strabane. We always said that. And as I say, last number of years things have died away, and the focus has been on cover bands or whatever. But this year it's been absolutely amazing. Between ourselves, Freaks, and those Ghosts, and all of us doing well, all of us getting recognition from people outside the town, all over the country, and getting radio play, national radio play for all 3 bands. It's absolutely amazing. And it's long been said, that the creative talent around Strabane has been, something else. But I think this year now, definitely, it has gone a long way to backing up those claims, and hopefully next year, onwards and upwards for everyone.
Yeah, and I think as well, you mentioned like the, years ago when Dicey's here, about the early 2000s up to about 2006, 2007, I think people didn't, a lot of people don't realise the bands that came here from across the north. and of course the local bands as well. And then when you see the success of Glasgowbury, and so many of those bands were at the forefront and the headliners at the Glasgowbury Festival over the years as well. So I think people, perhaps, do you think, have realised now that, there was something here, and maybe a lot of the younger music fans possibly missed.
Absolutely. I mean, look at even, I was here in Night and Dicey's, I think in 2005, there was 10 people here in Two Door Cinema Club. Yeah. We're playing here, and Pete was here.
Pete was there. He was there. You're one. This is 20% of the audience here, is it?
Absolutely. But I mean, and I'd say most people in Strabane, would have been heading up to see them playing in these massive venues, like in the O2 in Dublin, and Tenants Vital, exactly, and they wouldn't even have known they'd played literally on their doorstep, and
Frank Turner as well. I was just leaning against that railing behind you there. Right. I think there must have been 30 there that night.
That's right. We were actually supporting them that night with the Avari, and thanks to Niall Doherty and his rather large family, that they padded out the audience. there would have been no one.
In my defence, I had an A-level the next morning, so I couldn't go. But no, sure, I watched them on TV at the Olympics, so that's
that made up for it, like. Wasn't as cold. But anyway, back to the band now. Of course, I mean, and the actual music itself. You're saying the melody's a big factor, and of course you'd be a big fan of R.E.M. as well. I mean, you have a great story about one of the particular songs, 31 Years.
That's right. That was written with, I took the breakup of R.E.M. worse than I've taken anything in my life. As most people know me, I think there was a couple of mass cards arrived at the house. But so whenever they broke up, obviously I wrote that song 31 Years. It's just basically detailing my love for them, and how sad it was that it had all ended. And once we got the band up and running, decided I'd been chatting to my family one day, and I'd been a member of the fan club for years, and I phoned them up in Athens in Georgia, and got speaking to a lovely member of the office team, and I'd explained what the song was about, and they were more than happy to, they listened to it. And I got an email then about 3 hours later saying that everyone in the office had loved it, and they had forwarded it to the manager, Bertie Downs, and that he would be in touch to let us know what he thought. So he got back to us and said that he loved it, thought it was absolutely amazing, and that he had forwarded it on then to the rest of the band members. So at this, I mean, we were overjoyed. We thought this is unreal. And the very next day, we got an email then from one of the office staff to say that Bill Berry, the R.E.M. drummer, had emailed in to say that he just loved the song. He says it was by far the best tribute to R.E.M. he had heard. And at this stage, we were overjoyed. I mean, at that stage, we hadn't even done a gig. We had just released 31 Years on Record Store Day, and the response to that had been great. And then we had this amazing story then, without even doing a gig. So it was absolutely brilliant. And for me personally, it was just a real, to think that a member of, one of my favourite bands and biggest inspirations took the time to listen to the song and enjoyed it was just unbelievable, and the best platform possible for the band, really, in those early stages. It was great.
Well, I suppose now, because you're rehearsing away here still, and you've been the rehearsals have been pretty intense over the last while, and the recording as well, but you must be really itching at the bit to get out and do it live now. Absolutely.
I mean, as I say, we've been holed up in the studio for quite a while now, and the gigging has actually been put on the back burner. So we're looking forward to getting the EP finished and released, and we'll also be making a big announcement, possibly before Christmas, possibly just very slightly after Christmas. We've got some massive news regarding the EP and how we'll be releasing it and who will be releasing it for us.
That sounds intriguing, but that is to be continued, perhaps, is it?
That is to be continued until all T's are crossed and I's dotted. But we're very excited, and it's looking as if 2014 is going to be a big year for us.
Happy days. That sounds brilliant. I hope it is, and I wish you all the very best for it, lads.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thank you to Mark Donnelly and Pete Devine there from White Male Actors for chatting to us there last night. And you can catch White Male Actors making their live debut in Dicey's along with those ghosts on December 20th there in Dicey Riley's. That's going to be an absolutely brilliant night. Thanks once again to the lads for taking the time out to chat to us there last night during the intense rehearsals that they're going through. We look forward to hearing more from them on during 2014 as well.